Hi, my name is Curtis Miles and I'm a technical specialist with IBM, focused in the area of smarter process as well as our mobile-first portfolio. What I want to do today is tell you a bit of a story about two banks, and we're going to call this a tale of two banks. So we're going to watch how customers are interacting with these banks and how smarter process can be used to improve customer satisfaction, to improve customer retention, bank efficiency, and then also to create knowledge workers. So our story starts with David Millen, who has a check that he actually wants to deposit. And so he's pretty happy to do so. He is excited to use the new check deposit feature of Basic Bank's mobile app. So Basic Bank is his bank. And so he opens his mobile app. Now this is a mobile app that Basic Bank took a while to get going, but he's pretty happy with it actually. He likes the way that it feels. He's glad that they've got this capability now. So he goes ahead and clicks on his button here to deposit his check, and he fills out some information. Now, as we go through our story, what I also want you to keep track of here is these little indicators that we have on our control panel, which is what you see. Our control panel is going to give us the means of kind of watching what's happening behind the scenes and making sure that we don't get lost. But it's also going to be able to track for us the customer satisfaction as we go through our story, how that's changing, and then also the revenue impact for the bank here. So David has opened up his mobile app. He's ready to deposit a check. He's at the point here where he's entering the amount of the check. So his check is for $50. So let's put in $50.00. So here we go. And now he is going to be taking a picture of his check. So he's able to hold that up to his camera on his phone here and take a picture. And let's use that one. Looks great. And now he's actually got to take a picture of the back of his check. So he flips it over, takes that picture, and we've got it. We can use that one. So he's all set here to go ahead and deposit his check, and so he presses on his submit button on his mobile app to do so. Now what's happening in the background is that check image just got sent to Basic Bank and is currently in the check deposit queuing system for the bank. And if you notice back on David's mobile app, he has a message here down the bottom that says that his check was submitted successfully. So that's great. So he can come back and go to his home screen. So that's great. Now the next day, when Olivia gets into work, so Olivia works for the operations department at Basic Bank, and it's her job to take a look at all of the incoming checks that need to be processed and decide which ones are actually going to require manual inspection. And so she'll do this based on things like the amount of the check, things like the risk tolerance of the bank and the volume of checks she has to process, because these have to be processed within 24 hours. And so she actually sees David's deposit. Now I don't know if you noticed what happened there, but when David made his deposit, it was a $50 check, but he actually forgot the decimal point. So he ended up making a deposit for $5,000. So that triggered one of Olivia's rules. So she actually goes ahead and she assigns that work. So Olivia, this meets her criteria for her threshold based on the information that she sees, and so she assigns that to Oscar, one of her employees, to go ahead and process. So already, the manual work that's been involved here, the fact that we've got Olivia and Austin manually processing these checks, that has a revenue impact here for Basic Bank. So I'd like to introduce you to David's wife, Jen. So Jen is also a customer of Basic Bank, and she shares an account with David. And she is actually on her way today to buy David a birthday present. So his birthday's coming up, and so she pops up her Basic Bank mobile app to check the account balance, and she sees that she's got a little bit more money than expected, because there's this $5,000 extra in the account that she wasn't really expecting to be there. So seeing this, she's pretty excited, because this means that she can actually afford the TV that David's got his eye on for his birthday. So she goes ahead and buys that TV. Okay. Now, meanwhile, back at the bank, Oscar has identified the problem here. He's seen David's check, and he's seen how much David said it was for and how much it actually is for, and he sees that it's an honest mistake of forgetting the decimal point. So he reaches back out to Olivia so that she can contact David to get the situation cleared up, which she does. She calls David. Now David isn't super happy that this took so long to get back to him. It's by now it's the end of the next day, but he's okay with it. I guess he kind of accepts the risk here of depositing his checks this way. Until the next day, when David's actually at the grocery store and he's at the cash, at the checkout, and he's ready to pay for his purchases, and he goes to use his debit card and it's declined. And he can't figure out what's going on. Fortunately, he's got some cash, so he pays with cash. And the first thing that he does is he calls the bank to trace the problem. And together, after walking through a series of transactions and figuring out what went wrong, and they untangle the mess, and they finally find out that David has, they finally find out that the situation occurred, that David had deposited this check, and at the same time, Jen had made this purchase and resulting in the overdraft. So they unravel it and they fix the problem. But on his way out, what David does is he actually goes and downloads SmartBank, which is Basic Bank's prime competitor, downloads their app and actually opens a new account. So in this story, we've actually seen how the lack of a smart process has reduced Basic Bank's ability to keep David happy and also keep him as a customer. Okay, so let's move on. What I want to do is take you now, let's rewind time. And let's see what would have happened if David had actually been with SmartBank the entire time. So what I'm going to do is let's come into here and we're going to launch SmartBank's app. And we're going to pretend the same thing. So David's going to make a deposit here with his SmartBank app, just like he did. So SmartBank app actually also is good. So it's a great app. Now the difference is that the SmartBank team built their app using the IBM starter app for retail banking. And this saved them a ton of time, right? So they both SmartBank and Basic Bank came out with great apps, but SmartBank was able to do it so much faster that they could spend time on their back end and utilizing smarter process to make sure that they've got efficient workflows in place for these new type of workloads. So here's David on his SmartBank app, and he's going to go ahead and deposit a check. Now some of the information, we've already got the pictures here for the sake of time, but let me come in here and let's make the same mistake on this submission as David made last time. Okay, so here's our accidental $5,000 for our $50 check, and when I submit that deposit, just like in the Basic Bank case, that goes into our back end. Now the difference here is that this is automatically kicking off a process, and this process, this check deposit process, is going to do a number of key things for us. So the first thing that it does is it interacts with our intelligent imaging system to go ahead and gather the information that's on the check and pull that out so that we've got it into a form that we can do something with. And the next thing that happens is we're going to run some business rules. And our business rules are going to pull information from the customer information system as well as details about the check, and they are going to analyze the risk associated with accepting this deposit without manual intervention. They're also going to do all the basic validation. So it's going to compare the amount that the check was for versus what David had said this check was for. And in this case, we catch that problem. So this is what Olivia was doing and what Oscar were doing manually. We have now done with business rules automatically as part of Smarter Process. In this case, we know that there is a problem with the check, so we run some additional business rules to figure out what we want to do about it. And maybe we can even use rules to suggest to David how we want to accommodate for this problem and give him a helpful notification. So we send that back to David, and so up on David's mobile app, in response to pressing that submit button, you can see this message that has caught this error, and it actually gives him the ability to very quickly deposit $50 instead of $5,000. And so, oh, this is great. This, he can only imagine the problems that could have occurred if this had gone through with $5,000 instead of $50, which, because we rewound time, he had the luxury of not experiencing that painful path previously. So he goes ahead and presses retry. At this point, that information goes back to SmartBank. We run that same process through, but of course this time, no errors. The process completes successfully, and we're able to respond back to David that his check was deposited successfully as well. So he's super happy. He's excited to use this capability on the mobile app of SmartBank, and he's pretty excited about how easy and efficient it was and how they were able to catch that problem right up front. Okay, so let's come back to our story here and let's move it on to our third scenario. And our third scenario is around the possibilities. So let's take a look at some of the things that SmartBank is able to do as a result of having the smarter process in place. And so specifically, David is going to be going on with his day-to-day business. So he is continuing to deposit checks, and maybe he's researching things on the SmartBank website, maybe looking at retirement savings plans or educational details, for his kids and things like that. And so normally, that would be fine, business as usual. But in the case of SmartBank with Smarter Process, they're able to use their Decision Server Insights capability to keep track of this information, to build up this this information about who David is, and ultimately look for patterns. And the patterns that they're looking for are things that will help them to identify how to best reach out and satisfy David from a customer perspective. So in this case, we've identified that a pattern of things has occurred, in this case 3 check deposits that have met certain criteria, and we have automatically launched a case to be able to track and work with these check deposits. So I'm going to bring up my details here. So this is my dashboard. So I'm going to play the role of the branch manager here. And so up on my dashboard pops this customer service opportunity for David Millen. So this is the case that we have created to take advantage of this customer service opportunity that we have identified. And so I can look at the details of this case. And in here what we'll see is information that we have collected and put together to transform me into a knowledge worker. So I have customer information about David. We've put that together with the transaction pattern and history here that has resulted in us identifying that perhaps now would be a great time to recommend one of these particular customer service opportunities. So specifically, we can see information here about an offer that we have at SmartBank to eliminate account fees when you have at least one direct deposit on your account for the type of account that David's got. And we have information here about how likely David would be to accept it. Perhaps we've included information about how profitable this would be to us as the bank, as well as if there's any risk to customer satisfaction. So here the risk is low, acceptance rate is high. So you know what, as a knowledge worker, I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity to reach out to David and make him this offer. So I select the offer, and I can pick how to action this, right? So I have some options over here on the right-hand side. I could delegate this, I could kick off a process. And so that's what I'm going to do. Let me kick off this send video message process. Now, the send video message process, as we launch it here, we come back to our control panel. What this means is, so what we've seen here is we automatically launched that dashboard. We started a process here, this record video message process, for me to be able to reach back out to David with this video message that I'm going to record. At a point in the process, it requires my intervention to go ahead and record this video message. So let's switch back to our dashboard here, and we'll see this task now on our task list to record the video message. So I'm going to action that and claim that. And as we do that, in this particular case, SmartBank is using the user interface creation capabilities of IBM Business Process Manager to be able to fill out the video message. Now we've pre-populated it with information that is relevant to the offer that we're going to make for David. And I can do things using the capabilities here, like maybe start the camera, and I can go ahead and record this video message directly for David on my, computer here with my camera. And but in this case, for our sakes, let's just put in one that we've recorded earlier for the sake of time. And maybe I can make some customizations to our message that we're sending David. So maybe instead of pointing him to the nearest location, let's give him some, account plan details on a button here, and let's point that to a particular spot on our website where we can get in to the details. And I can continue to fill out the information here. I've got details about the message that I want to include, and I have my little preview, and this is all just user interface that SmartBank has created to make me, a knowledge worker, be more successful. And so let me go ahead and send that message, but before I do, we'll take a look at David's mobile app. So he might be in another app, right, and we can use the capabilities that we've got in our mobile first portfolio for smart push to get native push notifications here. But I'm going to go ahead and send that message. And as I send that, up on David's mobile device pops this, this notification. And so he can go ahead and look at the video message that's been recorded, and we can watch as that's being done, and he can see that information happening. He can also take advantage of the buttons that we see down below, and maybe he even wants to go ahead and give me a call, right, to let me know that he's interested in this and maybe he needs a little bit more information. So what we've been able to see as David has been interacting with this is we've watched as we've completed this process, right? The process completed. We sent this notification on to David, and he was pretty happy, right? So he was grateful that he was reached out with this opportunity to save money, and he took advantage of the offer, and maybe, just maybe, he even sent a nice positive tweet about SmartBank in response to his great customer experience. So that's a little bit of story, a tale of two banks, Basic Bank and Smart Bank, and hopefully gives you just a perspective on some of the interesting things that you can do with IBM Smarter Process to really improve customer satisfaction, to increase efficiency through straight-through processing, and then also to transform workers into knowledge workers, leveraging the insights that we can use about our customers and the way that we do business. Okay, thank you.